Auzubillahi Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Syed Farhad Ali, and I am lecturer radiology at Professional College of Medical Sciences, Peshawar. And today the topic which I would like to present is an organ of the abdominal cavity, the Larenstein. The Larenstein is also known as large bowel or a colon, and it is the last part of the gastrointestinal tract and of the digestive system and the vertebrates. A colon and large bowel. These are the other two names of the large intestine. Okay, let me draw a simple diagram of the Larenstein. First, I'm going to discuss the parts of the Larenstein. So the Larenstein is divided into basically 7 parts. Number first part of the Larenstein is Cecum, the appendix, ascending colon, the transverse colon, the descending colon, the sigmoid colon, and the rectum. These are some of the parts of the large intestine. And one thing which I forgot is the anus or anal canal. Remember that all the 6 parts come in the abdominal cavity, but only the rectum and the anal canal are considered in the section on the pelvic and the perineum. So these 2 parts of the Larenstein come in the category of the pelvic. Okay. The cecum, appendix, these are the parts of the small intestine, and these are the parts of the ascending colon. The transverse colon is isolated as a second part, and the sigmoid colon, and these come in the category of a descending colon. So the descending colon and the sigmoid colon, the rectum, and the anal canal as the 4th part. So broadly we divide all the Larenstein into 4 parts: the ascending colon, the transverse colon, the descending colon, and the sigmoid and rectum and anal canal. We will discuss it one by one, but let me draw a diagram of the Larenstein. So start from the cecum. Okay. This is the most expandable part of the large intestine, which is the cecum. Okay. So this is the cecum. And immediately to the cecum, the appendix is present. And here the small intestine and the large part of the small intestine is the ileum. Okay, and this is the upward part of the Larenstein. This one is the ascending colon. And this the downward part, this the curved part of the large intestine is the transverse colon. And this is the downward part of the large intestine is the descending colon. Here, this part of the large intestine is the sigmoid colon. And the last part of the large intestine is the anal canal. Okay. From the ileum, from the appendix here, a line goes upward, and then the curve, take a curve like this, and then come to the descending and the sigmoid colon. And this portion which I drawn as the tinea coli. Okay, and what is tinea coli? So tinea coli are three separate longitudinal ribbons of smooth muscles on the outside of ascending, transverse, descending, and sigmoid colon, which I drawn here. This one, this one, and this. Okay, these are the tinea coli. Okay, and here two parts or two projections are present. One, this one, and this one. Okay, here above this place, the right lobe of the liver are present, and here the spleen are present. Okay, this part of the Larenstein are called right colic flexure. Right colic flexure, and this part of the Larenstein are called the left colic flexure. The right colic flexure are also known as the hepatic flexure because the right lobe of the liver are present above that part of the Larenstein. Therefore, we called it the right colic flexure or the hepatic flexure. And this part of the Larenstein, which we called the left colic flexure, the second name of this part of the Larenstein is the splenic flexure because the hilum of the spleen is present just above the portion of the Larenstein. Okay. Some pouches are also present, these pouches. Some pouches are also present in the large intestine, and these are called the haustras. These pouches are called haustras. Haustras is a plural word in the singular pouch, and the singular pouch is called haustrum. Okay, This is a simplified diagram of the Larenstein. What do you mean by hastra? So hastras are multiple pouches in the wall of the Larenstein, which gives colon its segmented appearance. You can see the segments. It gave us separate segments, like this is a one segment, second, third, fourth, fifth. So this is a general description of the large intestine. First come to the first part of the Larenstein, which is the cecum. So before going to the anatomy of the first part of the small Larenstein, let us discuss the primary function of the large intestine. Function of the Larenstein. Okay, the first function of the Larenstein is absorption of food. Sorry, absorption of water and storage of undigested food. Storage of undigested food. Why the Larenstein stored the undigested food? So the storage of undigested materials or food until it can be expelled from the body in the form of the feces. Okay, and the third function of the Larenstein is the absorption of electrolytes. These are some of the functions of the Larenstein. Now come to the first part of the large intestine, which is the cecum. So cecum is the part of the Larenstein that lies below the level of the junction of the ileum with the Larenstein. This is the ileum, and from here the Larenstein starts, and this is the expanded part of the Larenstein. We call it the cecum. So the cecum is the part of the Larenstein that lies below the level of the lies below the level of the junction of the ileum with the Larenstein. It is an expanded pouch that is situated in the right iliac fossa. Location is the right iliac fossa. You must know that part of the location, that the cecum is present in the right iliac fossa, and it is about 2.5 inches or 6 centimeters long, and is completely covered with the peritoneum. Okay. This is the terminal part of the smaller intestine. So the terminal part of the smaller intestine, which is the ileum, entered the large intestine at the junction of the cecum, with the ascending colon. This is the ascending colon, and here the cecum enters to the Larenstein, where the opening is provided by two folds. Here two folds or two lips are present, which form an ileocecal valve. Ileocecal valve. And what is the function of the valve? So valve restrict the backflow of the contents This is the main function of the valve. Okay, the appendix here, which is present at the medial side of the cecum. So the appendix communicates with the cavity of the cecum through an opening located below and behind the ileocecal opening. Here, the ileocecal opening is present, and the ileum, the appendix is present posterior-medially to the cecum. Now comes to the blood supply of the cecum. So first come to the arterial supply. The ileocecal artery supply oxygenated blood to the cecum, and the ileocecal artery is a branch of the superior mesenteric artery. Mesenteric artery. The venous drainage or venous supply. So the ileocecal valve, ileocecal vein which drain deoxygenated blood from the cecum and to the superior mesenteric vein. Now we come to the lymphatic drainage. So the lymph vessel passes through several mesenteric nodes and finally reach to the superior mesenteric nodes. Okay, comes to the nerve supply. So the branches from the parasympathetic and sympathetic nerve. Sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve, which is the vagus nerve, and form the superior mesenteric plexus. Superior mesenteric plexus. And these are all about the first part of the large intestine, which is the cecum. Now come to the appendix. So appendix is a narrow and muscular tube connecting a large amount of it contains a large amount of lymphoid tissue. Narrow tube and contains large amount of lymphoid tissue. Appendix varies in length, and its length from 3 to 5 inches, and it becomes about 8 to 13 centimeter. The base is attached to the posterior medial surface of the cecum, and about 1 inch below the ileocecal junction. The remainder of the appendix is free. And only the base is attached to posterior medial surface of the cecum, and it's about 1 inch below the ileocecal junction. Come to the mesoappendix. So mesoappendix is the portion of the mesentery connecting the ileum to the appendix, and it may extend to the tip of the appendix. Let's suppose this is the cecum, this is the appendix, and this is the ileum. So the mesoappendix connect the appendix to the ileum. The mesoappendix, the portion of the mesentery connecting the ileum to the appendix, and it may extend to the tip of the appendix. Okay, the mesoappendix contain the appendicular vessels, and the appendicular nerves. The appendix lies in the right iliac fossa. Okay, the inflamed appendix is called appendicitis, and the removal, you should know, the inflamed appendix is called appendicitis, and the removal of that inflamed appendix is appendectomy. Tomy mean to cut or to remove an appendix, to remove the removal of the appendix. Okay, some common position of the appendix. There are 4 positions at which appendix may lie. So the tip of the appendix is subject to a considerable range of movement and may be found in the following positions. Number first is it's hanging down into the pelvis against the right pelvic wall. Right pelvic wall. Okay. Second one is it's coiled up behind the cecum. Third is it projecting upward along the lateral side of the cecum. And the fourth one is it lies in front or behind the terminal part of the ileum. So these are the four common position of the appendix, but the first and second position are the most common sites, which are the hanging down in the pelvis against the right pelvic wall and coiled up behind the cecum. Now come to the arterial supply, the venous supply of the appendix. So first come to the arteries. Arterial supply. The appendicular artery supply appendicular artery supply oxygenated blood to the appendix, and it's a branch of the posterior cecal artery. Posterior cecal artery comes to the venous supply. So the appendicular vein drain deoxygenated blood from the appendix, and it connect with the posterior cecal vein. The appendicular vein bring deoxygenated blood from the appendix and carry it to the posterior cecal vein. Now comes to the lymph drainage. So one or two nodes in the mesoappendix reach finally into the superior mesenteric node. So you should know the superior mesenteric node. Okay. And the last one come to the nerve supply. So the sympathetic and parasympathetic, sympathetic and parasympathetic, which is the vagal, or vagus nerve from the superior mesenteric plexus. So this was about the two parts of the large intestine, the cecum and the appendix. And inshallah, we will continue it in the next lecture, that how further parts of the Larenstein, and there are, and I think it's enough for today. Thank you so much. Thank you for your precious time. Allah Hafiz.